Hey everyone, and welcome to today's maths lesson. Okay, so yesterday we worked on tenths and hundredths, and today we're going to be doing tenths as decimals. We briefly touched up on it yesterday, okay, but don't worry, we're going through this together. And again, clue at the top is we're working on decimals. All right, so moving on. So as an introduction, just to see what you learned from yesterday, I would like you to use the part-whole model to partition 38 hundredths into tenths and hundredths. Okay, we did do this yesterday. It's just a little bit of a revision, a little bit of a recap, just to see if what you learned yesterday is sunk in. All right, so 38 hundredths, try to work out how many tenths do I have and how many hundredths do I have. So again, you will need a piece of paper and pencil. You'll need that every day, okay, just so you can do your squiggles on there. So pause the video, make sure you got the resources, and try and work out this introduction question. Off you go. Okay, we're back. And 38 hundredths, what should that partition into in tenths and hundredths? And here is your answer. That's right, you should have 3 tenths, because remember, the first number here tells you how many tenths you have. Because technically you got 30 hundredths, and that can be simplified into 3 tenths. Because remember, I can times that by 10, times that by 10, and it'd be 30 hundredths. Okay? And for the hundredths, this is the easy bit. You just pretend that 3 doesn't exist, squiggle it out, and remember, it'd be in your hundredths column. So you have 8 100ths. Okay? So well done if you got that right. Moving on. So today we're going to be focusing on decimals, okay, as well as fractions, because it'll be easy to do the fraction, because then you'll realize how to convert that into a decimal. So remember, you have a numerator and a denominator in fractions. The numerator tells you, that's right, how many pieces have been taken up. And the denominator, can you remember what that means? That's right, the denominator tells you how many it's been chopped into, how many pieces you have all together. Okay, so the numerator is how many's been taken up, how many's been coloured. And remember, the denominator is how many has it been chopped into. Okay, how many have you got all together? So it says use the image to complete the fraction and the decimal. What I want you to do for this first question is leave the decimal for now, because we're going to go through that together, because it's the first time you're really doing it. Okay, some of you might have done it already, so you can go ahead and convert it into a decimal straight away. That's fine. But all I want you to do at the beginning is just focus on converting it into a fraction. Okay, so for the first bit, just figure out what this representation would be as a fraction. Okay, remember, numerator at the top, denominator at the bottom. So pause the video, off you go. Okay, we're back. So let's see if you managed to convert the representation into a fraction first. So remember, the numerator is how many has been taken up. So how many has been taken up? Let's find out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's my numerator, 6 at the top. So in this box here, you should just write a 6. Okay, and remember, how many has it been chopped into altogether? That's my denominator. How many parts have I got altogether? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so the bottom box here, okay, all you need to do is just make sure you put 10 as your denominator. Excellent. So you should have a 6 at the top and a 10 in the bottom. Excellent. So you have 6 tenths. But Mr. West, how do I convert that into a decimal? Well, believe it or not, it's quite straightforward, okay? Because remember, we are now going below 1, okay? So remember, if this was one whole chocolate bar, I haven't chopped it up. I have one whole chocolate bar, but then I've chopped it up into 10. Okay, so now I've chopped it into tenths. I no longer have one whole chocolate bar because I've chopped it into smaller pieces, okay? So it's like your place value knowledge. Okay, so remember, everyone should know we have a ones column. Okay, and at the minute I don't have any ones because I did have one. Okay, I had a whole one. Okay, but now I've chopped it up. So actually my ones column today, in my ones column, I'm actually going to have 0 ones. Okay, I'm not going to have any ones because I don't have any whole. Okay, I don't have any whole parts. Okay, I don't have any whole pieces. Okay, because I did have a whole chocolate bar, but now I've chopped it up. Okay, So in my ones column, I'm going to have a 0. But can you remember what comes after the ones column to the right? Remember, we're not going to the left, because if we were going to the left, if I put ones here, if we were going to the left here, then you'd be like, oh yeah, we've got tens. But remember, that's a capital T. Can you remember what I have to the right of the ones? That's right. I don't have tenths at the minute. Remember, I have a decimal point column. Okay, and that's going to be really important today because, as you can see here, we're dealing with decimals now. Okay, so I have my ones, I have my decimal point. Okay, and then what comes after the decimal point to the right? That's right. This is where my tenths begin. So I have a decimal point, and then I have tenths. And remember, after the tenths here to the right, remember, I have hundredths. But I don't have to worry about hundredths for now. I don't have any hundredths at the minute because I've chopped this into tenths. Okay, and like this fraction here, well, how many tenths did you tell me I have? That's right, I have 6 tenths. Okay, I have 6 tenths. And believe it or not, that's going to tell you what the answer is here. Okay, because using my place value knowledge, okay, I have ones. Okay, and remember, I have no ones at the minute. I have 0 ones, and then I have the decimal point column here. Okay, so I automatically know what's going to go to the left of the decimal. That's right, it's going to be a 0. I have no ones. I have no ones. So that box there is going to be 0. But then how many tenths do I have? Well, you've just told me in the fraction here I have 6 tenths. And using place value, so I know I have 0 ones. I have a decimal point column. Okay. And then I have my tenths. And how many tenths did you tell me I had? That's right. I've got 6 tenths. So I automatically know, look, what my answer is going to be here. Okay. It's going to be 0.6. So to convert it into a decimal, it's quite easy. I have 0.6. Okay? Because you tell me here, I've got 6 tenths. And all you need to remember is, well, you've got no whole ones at the minute. You've got no ones. And how many tenths do I have? Well, 6 tenths. So 6 in there. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Okay? So let's move on to the other ones and let's see if you can do them by yourself. So let me just get rid of my pen bit and let's move on. So 6 tenths converts into 0.6. Because remember, no ones, 6 tenths. Okay, moving on. So complete the statement using a decimal. So is the same as 3 tenths. So remember, complete the statement using a decimal. Don't do it as a fraction, okay? Doing it as a fraction can help you, but remember, you have to do it as a decimal for this, okay? So pause the video and see if you can work it out. Off you go. Okay, welcome back. So complete the statement using a decimal. So something is the same as 3 tenths. Let's reveal the answer. That's right. If I have 3 tenths, remember, if I draw that as a fraction here, so remember, if I have 3 tenths, I would draw it like this. I'd have 3 tenths, okay? And remember, we're now converting it into a decimal. So remember, if I have my ones, remember, I don't have any ones, okay? I don't have any whole pieces. Then we have the decimal point column, and then we have our tenths. And remember, I have 3 tenths here, so all I have to do is make sure I put 3 in the tenths column, and don't forget to separate them using the decimal. The decimal point column never moves. There's always a decimal point there, okay? So that's right. 0.3 is the same as 3 tenths, because that's my tenths column here, 3 tenths. And remember, I have no ones, I have no whole ones, because remember, if this was a chocolate bar, if I had a whole chocolate bar, all right, but this has been chopped up into 10, okay, I no longer have a whole chocolate bar, it's been chopped up. Okay, so 0.3 is the same as 3 tenths. Well done. Let's move on. So question 3, number lines. We all love a good number line. And it says here, draw an arrow to show where 0.1 would be placed on the number line. Okay, obviously you can't draw it on your screen. So you're just going to point. Where does 0.1 go? So the easiest way to work out number lines is we have a 0 here and a 1 at the end, because remember, we're now going below 1, okay? Because if I have 0.1, I don't have any, well, I don't have any ones, do I? I don't have 1 ones, okay? That's why we're going below 1, okay? So remember, let's figure out how many spaces, these spaces here, not the lines, how many spaces does my number line have? okay? Because that will tell you how many it's been chopped into. It will tell you how much each is worth, okay? So let's count the spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 spaces, okay? And you can see where I'm going with this, because if I have a whole one, okay, that'd just be one whole, wouldn't it? But now I've chopped it into 10. Ah, now you're getting it. I've chopped it into 10. So now these lines, I can now say are worth 1/10 each, okay? So that's 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and I can have 10/10. But remember, if I have a pizza and I chop it into 10 and I eat all 10 pieces, I've had a whole pizza. So 10/10 is just the same as one whole. Okay, so we have to draw an arrow to show, well, where does 0.1 go on the number line? Okay, and it tells you to write the decimal as a fraction. That might be quite easy, because now you're converting the decimal into a fraction. If I have 1/10, maybe you can figure out what that looks like as a fraction. But more importantly, where would 0.1 go on this number line here? Where would it go? So pause the video and see if you can figure it out. Off you go. Okay, welcome back. So, first of all, let's write the decimal as a fraction, because you pretty much say it when you say 0.1, and when you say like, oh, well, it's 1/10, because that 1 is in the 10th column. So 1/10, that gives you an idea on what the fraction looks like. So hopefully you've done the fraction as, so you have 1, then your denominator is 10, because you have 1/10. Because 0.1, if I was to draw that out here, 0.1, well, that's my ones column. That's my decimal point column. And now this is my tenths, okay? And I have 1/10, okay? So there's a 1 in there and a 10 there. 1 for the numerator, 10 for the denominator. But now where does this go on the number line? So I tried not to give it away because I said these were worth tenths, okay? But now you've done 1/10 here. Well, 1/10 is actually here on the number line. That's a 1/10, because 0.1 would go there, because if I was to count up in 0.1, it'd go 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9. Ooh, not 0.10, it'd be just 1. Because if I had 0.10, okay, well, you're just telling me you have no hundredths, and you don't have to worry about those. It's still 0.1, and that's back here, okay? So that's why it's 0.91, okay? So 0.1 would actually go here, okay? So let's find out if we're right. Well done. 0.1 goes there on the number line, and the decimal, well, the decimal as a fraction is 1/10. Okay, moving on. So this is a little bit tricky, okay? But if you have your knowledge at the ready, this is quite simple. So it says circle the odd one out. Don't worry about the A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, okay? Because you have to find out the odd one out of all of these. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things here, and you have to find the odd one out, okay? So it's a little bit tricky, but we'll go through it together because I'm interested to see if you can do this first. Okay, so have a look at each one carefully and see if you can find the odd one out. So pause the video, off you go. Okay, welcome back. It took a little bit of brain power to figure this one out, but it's quite straightforward if you try and match them together. That's my clue. So let's go through this together. So it says circle the odd one out. So I have a lot of 0.1s here, but if I add them up, I have 0.1. Well, that would be 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7. Okay, so I have 7 0.1s here, and that would be 0.7, wouldn't it? And that matches to this one here, because there's a 0.7 there, but actually, these two also match to, that's right, 7/10. Because remember, 0.7 is the same as saying, well, I have 7/10 in my place value knowledge. So that one goes to that one, and that one goes to that one. So those three match, so they're fine. Okay, and what about this one here, 1/10? Well, if I convert 1/10 into a decimal, so that would be 0 ones, wouldn't it? Point, and I'd have 1/10. So it'd be 0.1, and that one matches to this one. So those three match. Those two match. But what about 0.2? Ah, yeah, that's right. That's by itself. None of these represent 0.2 or 2/10, do they? Okay, so actually the answer for this is the odd one out was 0.2. Okay, a little bit sneaky, okay, but as long as we've obviously gone through this one together, when you come to do it on your PurpleMash quiz, hopefully you'll have a better idea. Okay, bit of a sneaky one, that one. So now we're moving on to the reasoning and the problem solving. Okay, so see if you can work these out. So Hamza is using a number line to represent a decimal. He writes down the decimal as 0.7. Okay, so he thinks 0.7 goes right there. Okay, it says, is Hamza correct? And explain your answer. Yes, so yes, you do have to explain why he's either right or why he's wrong. So why either he's correct or he's incorrect. All right, so pause the video and tell me, is Hamza correct or incorrect, and why? So pause the video, off you go. Okay, welcome back. So let's find out if Hamza is correct or incorrect. Okay, so he thinks 0.7 goes there. Okay. Well, actually, Hamza is incorrect because... That's right, Hamza is incorrect because the arrow on the number line is showing 0.6 or 0.6. Because as you notice, there's a 0 there and there's a 1 at the end. So that's right, we're going below 1. And 0.5 is smack bang in the middle. Okay, so if I was to just count normally on the number line in 0.1 in 1/10, it'd be 0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, and that's right, that would be 0.6. Because where would 0.7 go? That's right, 0.7 would go to the one to the right, 0.6, 0.7, it'd go here. So Hamza is wrong, because that's showing 0.6. So well done if you got that right. The next one. Katrina and Joseph are discussing tenths. Okay, so here is something that's been chopped into 10. Katrina thinks that 5/10, that equals 50. But Joseph says, well, 5/10 is actually 0.5. Well, who's correct? And explain your answer. So is Joseph correct or is Katrina correct? So pause the video and try and find out the answer. Okay, welcome back. So let's see who was right. Was it Katrina saying 5/10 is 50? Or is Joseph correct saying 5/10 is 0.5? Who was right? That's right, it was Joseph. Joseph is correct because, remember, 5/10 is written as 0.5. Because remember, using that place value knowledge, if I quickly do it, okay, remember, we have no ones. Okay, no ones. Okay. Then we've got that decimal point. And remember, we now have tenths here after the decimal point. And I have 5/10. Okay, so the tenths column will be there. So it'll be represented as 0.5. Because what's Katrina done? Katrina has actually calculated 5/10s. Not tenths with that THS at the end. She's done 5/10s. Because, well, what's 5 times 10? Well, that's 50. Okay, and if you use place value knowledge for that, you've got 5/10s. Well, then you'd know in your ones column to fill that with a placeholder. Okay, and that'd be 50 there. But remember, we're trying to figure out the tenths with that THS at the end. So Joseph was correct. Well done. And the last one, problem solving. So Catherine is thinking of a decimal. It is smaller than 7/10, but the 10th is an odd number. And it says here, write down 2 possibilities that Catherine's decimal could be. Okay, so write down 2 possibilities that Catherine's decimal could be. It's smaller than 7/10, and the 10th is an odd number. So have a really careful think. Okay, pause the video and have a go. Okay, welcome back. Let's see what possibilities there are. So here are the answers. So there were obviously 2 answers for this. Okay, so you could have 0.1 because that's only 1/10, and that's smaller than 7/10. Okay, so 1/10, well, number one, okay, well, 1 is an odd number because the 10th is an odd number. Okay, and 0.3, because that converts to 3/10, and that's smaller than 7/10. Okay, and 3 is an odd number. Okay, which other one could you have, though? Yeah, that's right. You can also have 0.5 or 5/10, because remember, 5 is an odd number, and that's still less than 7/10. Okay, isn't it? 5/10 is smaller than 7/10. Okay, so you could have 0.1, 0.3, or you can also have 0.5. Okay, or 5/10. But remember, it says here Catherine is thinking of a decimal, so it has to be in its decimal form. Okay, so well done if you got 0.1, 0.3, or 0.5. And believe it or not, that is the end of the PowerPoint. Okay, so remember, go back through the video if you need some more practice. But if you think you've got it, now try and complete your PurpleMash activity. It should be the 2 quiz. Okay, so good luck, stay safe, enjoy, and I will see you in tomorrow's lesson, which will be the last maths lesson with me before the Easter break. So enjoy, and hopefully you manage to do well. See you later.